Arsenal 5, Crystal Palace 1. What did we learn from Arsenal's victory? Well, first of all, I felt like everything that Arsenal fans had been crying out for over the last couple of weeks, I saw from Arsenal today. They were more clinical, they were more effective in transition, they were running, they were taking more risks. And while I think Arsenal looked a bit more shaky defensively compared to normal, they were taking more risk in attack, and it became probably a better game because of that. They scored 5 goals. They've actually scored 7 open play goals in their last 2 games, despite heavy criticism. And while I've seen 5-1 wins that are a lot better than that, and I think a lot of it came down to just Arsenal taking more risks and being more clinical, it was a good display from Arsenal. It was a good performance. I thought Lewis Skelly was excellent. Declan Rice was unbelievable when he came on. And I think there was vulnerabilities in the midfield, Palace finding space between the midfield and defensive line, and a little bit shaky from the defence. But I thought Lewis Skelly, Declan Rice, Gabriel Jesus were excellent. I thought Martinelli looked better. I still think Arsenal need a winger. I think the biggest loss from that game will be Bukayo Saka potentially missing 3 to 6 weeks if he is picked up a hamstring injury. I think someone like Semenyo, Dibbling could be attainable January transfer targets that could help Arsenal in the transition, help Arsenal in attack as well. I mean, there is talk of Arsenal needing a striker as well. I do think they should wait till the summer and go all out on someone like Isak. But Arsenal that get branded as boring and Tony Pulis ball, and look, at times I think Arsenal haven't been the most exciting to watch, and there is lots of set piece goals, but they scored 5+ goals in 6 different away games in all competitions in 2024, which is the most ever. They've also beat their record, I think, for most goals in a calendar year. So I think that, the criticism of Arsenal does go overboard. I feel like it's exaggerated. Like when Arsenal drop points, it's exaggerated more. Maybe because the expectation for Arsenal is to win the league, and now that City have dropped off, I feel there's a frustration in Arsenal fans that why have they not capitalised on that? Like Liverpool, I think they can still win the league. They're 3 points behind Liverpool. I think Liverpool can drop off points. Obviously, Liverpool do have the 2 games in hand. But I do feel that Arsenal have an average game, and it's like the end of the world for Arsenal fans. And I think that you've got a good squad, you've got a good side. I think there's areas you need to improve, there's areas you need to invest in. But I was still nowhere near right off Arsenal this season, because I look at their recent fixtures here, and if you look at the draws, Fulham, I think they had the chances to win that game, and Everton had the chances to win their game. Yes, Fulham and Everton weren't the most exciting games, but Arsenal had the chances there to win those games. And if they had won those games, they would be on 4 more points right now, which would be what? Would that take them top of the league right now? Yeah, would have put them top on 37, although Liverpool have 2 games in hand. Like, Arsenal are still up there. They're still in the race. They can still compete. And I feel like there's an overreaction about Arsenal being boring and being like Tony Pulis. Like, I don't think they're at their very best, but I think there's an overreaction about it. 2.9 XG today to Palace's 1.49 had a much higher expected threat. And if you look at the game and the threat and the expected threat throughout, I think Crystal Palace made it a more difficult game in the first half. I think Arsenal were gettable. I think Saliba wasn't at his very best today. Raya had a very good second half, but could have done maybe a bit better to begin with. Even Gabriel had a little bit of shakiness in him, who have been rock solid for Arsenal. But as the game went on, they just piled it on Crystal Palace, and I thought Crystal Palace were defensively poor. So this is my general thoughts on the game, but I do want to talk about Lewis Skelly, I do want to talk about Declan Rice, and I do want to talk about Jesus in a separate section in a second. But I thought that Palace struggled defensively. I think they gave Arsenal a lot of freedom out wide, and I felt that while Arsenal were a little bit shaky and there was a little bit of space there for Palace to get at, I think when Rice came on, they got better, and I thought that Arsenal exploited Crystal Palace well. Lewis Skelly, it's between him and Jesus for man of the match. Declan Rice, had he started, could have maybe got it. I thought the maturity and physicality he showed for his age was fantastic. Everybody knows that Lewis Skelly is so technically good. From watching about 4 games of him play, because I'm not an Arsenal fan, I thought, wow, this kid's got it on the eye. Reminds me of Timber a little bit in terms of his technical ability on the ball. But there's always going to be questions about the physicality. Mateta is huge. The Crystal Palace are a physical side. They wanted to make that game as physical as possible, and I felt that he dealt with it absolutely fine. And I thought the composure he had and confidence was fantastic. I thought Declan Rice was absolutely excellent after coming on, not just the goal and assist, but I think he addressed the space between the midfield and defence. I think he allowed Arsenal to get more control, therefore dominate the ball more and create more chances. And Arsenal do have 7 open play goals in the last 2 games, showing that they can create from open play. today. And I think a Gabriel Jesus in form, again, is a big part to that, because Gabriel Jesus isn't a striker like Havertz, which gets on the end of balls and scores. He's someone that does influence all-round play, and I thought he was good today. I thought his touch was good. And I think Arsenal just looked a lot better today. They were a lot more clinical, and I think had they had that clinicalness in the Fulham and Everton game, they could have probably walked away from points and with more points in those games. But I just felt that Arsenal were taking more risks. They were really going for an attack. The intensity was there. There was off-the-ball runs and the movement, and they were more effective in the transition than they've been before, which I think has been a weakness of this season. I thought the tempo was there. They were thinking forward, and I think everything that Arsenal fans have been crying out for, the forward thinking, the risks, I think they had that today at the expense of making it harder defensively for them, but I thought they had that. And that is now 10 games unbeaten and 4 wins and 2 draws in the last 6 for Arsenal. It's not like they're losing games, despite, it not being Arsenal at their very best. And I think fans wanting more because of City's downfall, and Arsenal haven't fully capitalised on that. They're still a good side with a good player. They sort of were like a diamond formation at times. But I weirdly liked it. I think Saka's absence will be worrying. I'm thinking, Semenyo, someone they could look at in the January window. I don't know if you'd be able to get Havertz, Heller, or Rodrigo, or someone insane, but Semenyo can play on both sides as a transition threat. Incredibly hard working. You could go with Dibbling, but I think Arsenal need to go out and sign a winger. I think striker is someone that they could also need to go out and sign, but I think the strikers are going to be available in the summer. I think Havertz has been really good for Arsenal, but I do think he's quite not at his best, and actually there's a bit of an opportunity there for Jesus to come in. But I thought Arsenal moved the ball better. I thought they moved the ball quickly. There was more intent there. I thought Martinelli looked better. I thought Jesus was good. I felt like he actually should have scored quite an easy chance, which he didn't, and he puts the harder chances away. But I thought Arsenal looked better. I thought they took more risks, and I thought that was a big improvement for them. But I want to talk about Lewis Skelly, then I will talk about Jesus, then I will talk about Declan Rice and a few other points. But he was excellent today. 5 out of 7 duels won, 2 tackles, 2 fouls won, 2 final third entries, 1 out of 1 take-ons. That is going to be one of the most demanding games for him, because he's a technical player, not a physical player, and that's going to be as physical as it gets. Everyone's got to remember, away at Selhurst Park is not an easy game. Even if wherever Palace are in the league, away at Selhurst Park is never an easy game. I mean, Man United lost their 4-0 last year. Like, I remember that, sadly. It was like 7 months ago we lost 4-0 there. Was it that long ago? Yeah, 7, 8 months ago. But I thought he was very good in his duels, very good in his movement. But I feel like he's got the ability to solve Arsenal's left centre mid problems down the lines. But I thought physically was good. But I think technically he had the most composure and maturity in the back line today. I thought he put in the best shift out of everyone in the back line. I think Ewan Tim has been excellent this season, but I thought he was gettable. I thought Saliba and Gabriel were gettable. I thought he was comfortable on the ball between the lines, progressing play, willing to take it on. I thought defensively he tracked his players well. He got back well. I thought he made it difficult for the opposition. I thought he was just comfortable with the ball in both feet, picking it up between the lines, progressing the ball, having the composure. And I thought he was creating attacks with his passes, but also he showed a bit of agility. He showed a bit of strength. He did well under the press. He did well in build-up. He had that defensive stability. And I think, when you look at what Arsenal need, I feel like he actually, profile-wise, is what they need on that left-hand side. I think he has the ability to vert in midfield. He has the ability to offer width. He excels in all phases. He can do so many roles as a left-back, and I think he could potentially turn into a left centre mid and be the long-term answer for that and inverting. He reminds me of a left-sided version of Timber, but I thought he was fluid. I thought he took responsibility really well, stepped up to the occasion. And I think he can be a long-term solution, maybe for midfield role. And I think he's a player right now where, to be honest, Calafiori might be thinking, this Lewis Skelly is going to make it difficult for me. Man of the match, I think, has to be Gabriel Jesus, because, he got the 2 goals again, 5 goals in his last 2 games versus Palace, but he does more than goals. As you can see, the 2 dribbles, he hit the post, 3 out of 5 aerial duels, 5 shots. I felt with Jesus, he was playing with more confidence, more belief, and we know in football, we've seen it with Rashford, we've seen it with Jesus, we've seen it with many players. Confidence does a lot, and I thought he wanted to take on his man. He wanted to take shots. He wanted to attack. He wanted to make things happen. He had that aggression. He had that hunger. He was really into the game as well. I think he showed intensity. I think he avoided overthinking, and I think he improved his movement. I thought that was really, really good. I thought he was, he still drops deep, and if he wants to be a 30-goal season striker, which he's never going to be, he needs to not drop deep so much. He needs to be less selfish. He needs to be more selfish. But I thought he held the ball well. I thought he made some really good runs. And I think his mobility brings more than Havertz. Havertz is more of a poacher, positionally more where he's going to get on the end of the ball with Arsenal creating. But with Saka off your best creative outlet, having someone like Jesus that can create himself and influence all-round players, not just a goal scorer, was probably quite beneficial today, because he can just contribute so much more than goals. And I felt he had that confidence today. Declan Rice, I thought, was absolutely excellent today. I felt when Arsenal were sort of having a few holes in midfield and struggling a little bit, I thought this game was crying out for Declan Rice. And I think Thomas Partey has arguably had a better season than Declan Rice, but like, I know what a good player Declan Rice can be in terms of ground coverage, the athletic support as well. Someone said Saka is on crutches as well. I've just seen that on Twitter. Apparently Saka's on crutches, so that does not look very good. But yeah, I thought Declan Rice really was good today, if I'm going to be honest. Yeah, just want to double check. Saka is on crutches. It could be a precautionary, but if it is a hamstring, what it looked like, he could be out for 6 weeks. And with the January window approaching, I think Saka's just so good and so important that you probably need a winger to go and sign one. But Declan Rice, the ground he covers, he can pass, he can shoot, fantastic, well-taken goal, win back the ball. I thought he had a very good impact today off the bench. I know he's not been quite his very best this season. Maybe he just needed a rest because he's exhausted. But out of possession, his ability to cut out the passing lanes, cover ground will help Arsenal. I thought, when Lewis Skelly and Havertz and partners him, it will work well. And I think, Arsenal have some good players. I think they're well and truly in tight race. I don't think you can rule them out. I think that it was a good performance. They won 5-1. It wasn't Arsenal at the very best, but they won 5-1. They were very good. I think, I've seen 5-1 performances where it could be 10-1. I think this was a solid 5-1. I thought Arsenal were good. I thought it was a difficult game. I don't really have many negatives about Arsenal, but I thought Declan Rice was excellent. And I think Arsenal are a good side. I don't like saying this as a Man United fan. I think they are a good team. I think they played well today. And I think if they continue to do so, I think Liverpool will drop points. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Let me know your thoughts down below, Arsenal fans. Thank you for watching. Bye.